Okay, so I have a lot of books. Okay, so essentially, I'm temporarily living in a different country, and I was talking to my mum. I was like, "Oh God, I'm running out of books," kind of, whatever. And she was like, "Here, give me a list, and I'll send some over to you." But she was like, "Put like a big list just in case they don't have any in whatever shop she was going to." So I made this list of quite a few books. She goes to the shop, hands it over, and literally buys all of them. So we have a book haul of, I want to say 15 books today, which is quite a lot. But yeah, honestly, my mum really pulled through on this one. I don't even want to know how much money she spent on this because there's a lot of books here. So the first book that I got was Icebreakers. So essentially this is a hockey player romance. Basically what happens is her partner, like ice skating partner, gets injured, and so he steps in as her new partner, and I think romance ensues. I don't know if that's the right word, but we'll say that it is. We'll go with it for now. But yeah, so I'm excited to read this book. Everyone is raving about it on TikTok, so it must be decent. Okay, so the next book that we have is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This is about Catalina, who is going to her sister's wedding, I believe, and she's essentially told all her family about this American boyfriend that she has. Her ex-boyfriend and his new fiance are going to be at the wedding, so high stakes in that regard. But she doesn't actually have an American boyfriend, so she has to bring Aaron along, and the two of them basically really do not get along, and then I guess the relationship will develop over the time at the wedding. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this one. I guess it's a bit of enemies to lovers, probably forced proximity, but I'm not sure about that. But I'm guessing if they're going to the wedding together, there will be. So I guess the more time they spend together, they begin to like each other more, and I can't wait to read it. Okay, the next book is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is one of those books that is just like an essential, like, key TikTok book talk book. Like, it's one of the like main ones on there, and it has been for quite a while. This is about Naomi, who is essentially running away from her wedding, I believe, and she goes to her sister's place, and then her sister ends up leaving her with Naomi's niece. There's a man in this town called Knox, so I guess Naomi and Knox are gonna have a bit of a romance. But yeah, I don't know a lot about like the plot of this apart from basically what I just said. So I'm kind of going into this kind of blind. But you know what? I go into most books blind. I honestly, most of the time I don't even read like the blurbs on books. I just like read them and figure it out as I go along, to be honest. Like, that is my reading style. Okay, so the next book that we have is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This is a literary fiction set in the 1960s, and it is basically about this woman in the 1960s who kind of revolutionises cooking, and it catches the attention of scientists, and basically it's just like a huge thing across the nation. And I guess it is just going to deal with different themes of how she would be treated in the 1960s. And yeah, I've seen quite a few people rave about this book, and it's been on my radar for quite a while, so I'm happy that I have it now and I can read it. Okay, now we have, of course, this wouldn't be a book haul by me if I didn't include an Emily Henry book. I love Emily Henry. We have You and Me on Vacation. I believe this has a different title in America. I'm not entirely sure what it's called there, but over here it's called You and Me on Vacation. I love Emily Henry books so much. There's not one of her books that I have read and not enjoyed. I think I've read 3 of her books so far. I do love Emily Henry. I just think her writing is so like captivating, and she always has such good characters that are just like, you're always like rooting for them. So I'm very excited about reading this one. Emily Henry is one of those authors for me that whenever she comes out with a book, I'm just gonna be like right there front and center getting that book as soon as it comes out, because I know that I'll enjoy books by her. Like, it's just, her books are always like a guaranteed 4 or 5 star for me. Like, I just love her so much. Okay, next up we'll do a little 3-in-1. I have got the first few, well, controversially, the first few books in the Throne of Glass series. I know there is a lot of controversy over the reading order. I think I've decided that I'm going to start with The Assassin's Blade. If anyone's really offended by that, I apologise, but I think from looking into it, most people seem to recommend to do it The Assassin's Blade first and then kind of continue on from there. These are the only books I think that they had in the shop when my mum went in to get them. We have obviously Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, and then once I finish these ones I will continue on with buying the rest of the series. But I love Sarah J Maas. I have read almost all of ACOTAR and it is just one of my favourite series. Like, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Even when I finished like the books, I was just constantly thinking about the characters and the storyline. I just love her writing so much. So I am sure I will enjoy Throne of Glass. I've even heard some people say that they've read ACOTAR and then they've read Throne of Glass and just like majorly preferred Throne of Glass. But when I do read Throne of Glass, I will let you know my opinions on that and which one I prefer. But yeah, so those are the ones I've got Throne of Glass so far. And also I was so nervous. Like, there's so many different types of covers for Throne of Glass, but I really do like this kind of style. So I'm glad those are the ones I've got. Okay, next up we have another Sarah J Maas book. It is, upside down. It is A Court of Silver Flames. This is not the last book in the ACOTAR series, but it's the last book that's out right now. And so I have only got this one left to read from the ACOTAR series. The one thing that does annoy me is this bit right here. Like, why? Whoever designed the covers, you know, beautiful covers, but why have they brought it around the side? Because when I have this on my bookshelf, it's just not gonna look, you know, that perfect way. I don't know. Whoever's designing covers they didn't think this one through. But it is still pretty, but that is besides the point. This is a hefty book as well, so I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through this. Probably fairly fast. I feel like I read Sarah J Maas books like quite quickly considering the size of them. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. I never will get over ACOTAR. I'm so obsessed with it. If I could reread it and it wasn't like so soon, I would totally do it. Probably next year I will reread ACOTAR. I think it's just going to be one of those books that I can like read time and time again because I just love it so much. And it's just, I don't know, I like think of it and it makes me like nostalgic, and it's like you've read it like a month ago. So I don't know, it's a weird one for me. Oh yeah, but essentially this book is the book of Nesta and Cassian, I believe. Basically from up until this point all the books have kind of been set in Feyre's point of view, and then a couple of times it's gone to Rhysand's, and then in A Court of Frost and Starlight it had a few different people's point of views, but this one is basically following Nesta, I believe. And obviously Rhysand and Feyre and everyone else is going to be like major characters in the book, but this is essentially Nesta's book. Do I love Nesta? No, but I think that book there is probably going to change that for me. Like, I feel like that's kind of the point of that book. But yeah. Okay, next up we have The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I don't know why I've been so excited about this book. I'm probably not going to read it like straight away because it is more of like an autumnal vibe to it, you know, like it's kind of Halloween-y, like witchy, woo. So I'm going to keep this on my TBR for a little bit longer because I feel like it's just, you know, it's kind of like the height of summer right now. It's not exactly the right time to read this, but I'm really glad that I have it either way. Just, I know it's there, I can pick it up whenever I want to. So I'm excited for autumn this year just because I know that when autumn comes I'll be able to pick this book up and it will just be the perfect vibes. It will be all like orange, like leaves falling. Oh, I'm so excited for it. I love autumn. I feel like I romanticize it in my head, and then when it gets here it's kind of like cold and miserable, but still like the idea of it, chef's kiss, love it. Okay, next we have The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I've never actually read a Christina Lauren book, but I'm sure they are very good. This book is essentially about when a wedding party gets food poisoning basically, and the best man and the sister of the bride go on the honeymoon together, even though they hate each other. They kind of put that aside, go to Hawaii, I believe it is, and you know, things grow from there. I am very excited about this. I've heard a lot of good things about Christina Lauren books, and I'm sure I will enjoy it, but regardless, I can't wait to read it. I'm not really sure on their kind of style of writing or what they're going to be like, but they are like a popular well, not author, they are popular authors, because I believe Christina Lauren is 2 people. I double checked, Christina Lauren is 2 people. I knew that, but I didn't want to say it with confidence, because you know how embarrassing that would be if I was like, yeah, Christina Lauren's 2 people, and then it's like, no, it's not. But it definitely is. I double checked, and I did know that. But next up, anyway, we have The Flat Share. This is by Beth O'Leary. This is basically, there's 2 people, they're sharing a 1-bedroom flat, but they're like not a couple, but I think when he works, she's in the flat, and when she works, he's in the flat. Like their kind of working hours are kind of the opposite to each other, so they don't really run into each other still, but they leave like notes to each other and kind of like form a bond that way, which I thought was really cute when I heard that. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my god, I need to read this. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know a lot more about it other than that, but I've heard it mentioned quite a few times by like popular booktubers, so I'm excited to give it a go. Okay, next up we have Vow of Thieves. Oh my god, this is it's a really floppy book. I love that. Anyway, Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I haven't actually read Dance of Thieves yet. I was kind of like waiting to get Vow of Thieves before I start. I'm sorry, I'm really enjoying how floppy this book is. Like, it's really satisfying. But I was waiting to get Vow of Thieves before I started Dance of Thieves, because I was just scared that I wouldn't be able to get Vow of Thieves, and that I would kind of just be left on like maybe a cliffhanger and then like forget everything and then try to get back into it, because it's fantasy, and I feel like fantasy, you need to just read it, not like binge it, but like kind of binge a series so that you remember everything that's going on and you don't like confuse yourself. So now that I have this, I will start Dance of Thieves. Okay, next up we have a bit of a genre change from the rest of these. These have been mostly romances with a couple of fantasy thrown in there. We have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, I believe that's how you pronounce the name, I'm not sure. But this is about a woman who goes to stay at this house on a lake, and she kind of is looking across. This sounds so stupid because I'm basically saying what the title is, it's kind of literal. She's looking at the house across the lake and she can see in the windows, and there is a couple, and she's like kind of watching them thinking like, wow, they're so perfect, they're like me and my ex-husband. But she kind of notices some suspicious things start happening, some kind of dodgy stuff, and it is a thriller, I believe. I'm really bad with like genres and what genres are, but this is a thriller, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I don't really know what happens past that, but I'm excited to read it anyway. This has also been like mentioned on BookTube quite a few times by different booktubers, and it is normally quite like highly rated, so it should be a good read. The last book that I got was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. Rowan essentially owns Dreamland, Disneyland. I think his family own it. Don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure. But it's basically a multi-billion dollar company. He's a billionaire and it's basically Disneyland. But he hires this woman, Zara. I always have to double check the names. I don't know why, I've got like the worst. I don't know, I just don't remember people's names in books. But he hires Zara, and he's basically a bit of try to think of a better word for this. He's basically not very nice. He's like a bad boss, and she's kind of like doesn't really like him. He's just not nice to her, but he secretly is kind of falling for her. But yeah, so I guess it's gonna be a bit of a almost enemies to lovers, but kind of like he fell first kind of thing. I don't know. I'm really bad with like naming tropes, but you get what I mean. You get the general gist of it. You get the idea. If you've read it, you'll know what I mean. Anyway, that is all the books that I have. I say that as if it's not like a ton of books. I've got like 2 giant stacks here. Oh my god, I'm dropping them all over the place. But I hope you enjoyed this haul. I will definitely be reading them in future videos. They will probably pop up in my Into the Month reading wrap up and other videos as such. I don't doubt, I know I won't read all of them this month because it's like halfway through the month. I'm not reading 15 books by then. But over the next few months, they will definitely be cropping up in other videos. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed very much getting to own all these books. The excitement I felt when I got handed the bag, literally this giant bag, it was stuffed, and I was like, oh my god. Such a wee nerdy thing, but I just loved it. I was so excited. But yeah, anyway, I will see you in another video.